welcome to another episode of Triumph and Tiaras. I am your hostess, Suzanne Proksa, Business Strategist and Coach for female entrepreneurs who are purpose-driven and looking to make a major impact in the world. This podcast is my passion and is intended to showcase women who have overcome obstacles to hopefully inspire and empower all of you to do the same. And now on with the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Triumph and Tiaras. I am Suzanne Proksa, your host, and I am here today with Carollyne Corner. She is a business medium, consultant, spiritual advisor, certified Soul Realignment Specialist, and the founder of Energy Economics. And so she is here today to tell us her story, which is very interesting, but I think a lot of people will be able to relate to if they have ever been in a situation where, maybe perhaps they didn't fit right in, or didn't conform to the norms, which I can certainly relate to in a lot of ways. So welcome, Carollyne.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
So tell us your story.
Well, I grew up here in Switzerland, in Europe, in a country which is very intellectually driven. In a family that is definitely intellectually driven. There was no religion, no belief system of any kind, definitely no spiritual belief systems installed in our family. And from the start, as long as I can remember, I just had this sixth sense. I saw, heard, felt things around me that other people couldn't. And I wasn't aware of that because, whatever you have is your reality. So for me, this was normal. I was normal because that was the only way I knew. And when I was about maybe 5, 6 years old, I remember that very vividly because I was playing and I was, seeing, talking, hearing things, and I was sort of probably having a loud discussion in my children's bedroom. And my mom entered and she came in and she was shell shocked seeing me there talking to the wall, things that she obviously couldn't see. And she asked me what I was doing, and I was explaining naively, I was explaining what I was doing, and she was really shocked. For her, it was the biggest fear that I was mentally not fit for this world, because we had a uncle, or she had an uncle, in the family, or actually in my father's family, and nobody knew what was really going on with him. But he just, since childhood, he was in care because he wasn't mentally fit. And so she got really scared, and I felt that as a child. And she told me, stop that, don't do that, and things like that. And I started to hide my one part of me, this whole sixth sense, this whole other world that was going on with me. I just hid from there on, and I felt ashamed and I felt old. And I realized then that my world that I thought was so normal isn't really the reality for other people. And when I grew older and, I had a normal career, I was then choosing to go into business, into finances. I had a normal life, but this other life was there too. And I entertained that with myself. And there was, very, very close friend who knew about it, and later my husband. But it took so long for me to really be myself and to get out of that fear-based zone where I wasn't able to show who I truly was. And I had this accident a couple of years ago now, where I was walking with my husband in the Swiss Alps, beautiful scenery. I thought I was, you know, in a nice state. Everything was going fine. I had a lovely job, but I knew that it wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't fulfilling my soul. But I didn't do anything about it. It was too comfortable. The job was too good paid. I was very independent. I was the head of finance and HR in a growing company, which I helped grow from a whatever six-figure company to a multi-million company, and I was there for 8 years. But I knew it didn't fulfill me. It wasn't what I really was looking for, and it didn't give me that sense of really being happy with what I did. So I didn't do anything about that because I felt too comfortable. And I probably didn't really realize that I should bring whatever I had as well on my side into this life. I did, however, work for a very long time already with integrating those energy knowledge and integrating whatever I heard and the sensitivities that I had. That's why I was so successful. But I didn't really tell anybody. I mean, some, I guess my bosses really knew in a way, but we didn't discuss that. They were happy that things were going well. So there was that walk with my husband, and I got really hurt, like badly hurt. I stuck my feet um, into a rock, and I couldn't move anymore, but made the movement itself, fell over, and I couldn't walk anymore. And I was literally, both of my feet were broken, the bands were ripped, and I couldn't make one more step ahead. And it was like a lightning struck me. I knew this was the reality. I can't move on anymore in the life that I was living. It wasn't me. And so, it took a while to figure out, but I had to overcome this fear that I'm who I am and that's okay. And I can share that because whoever doesn't like it, it's their problem, not mine. Because I wasn't different to before. I was just not speaking out about it. So it took a few books that I've read, and with the help from a few friends, I started to get out and looked for other people who had that sensitivity. And I have to say, in Switzerland, they don't sell books really often from like, I know now in the US or in the UK, you have books from Hay House. We didn't really have that. Definitely not in my city, not in our bookstores. So I didn't know about this whole world already existing somewhere out there, and I wasn't alone. I didn't know that. So a friend of mine, actually, an American friend, told me about those books. She gave them to me to read. And to make the long story short, I was invited to Sonia Choquette's sort of a training, and it's sensitivity training. And I met with her, and she told me, I don't know why you don't do the work I do, and I don't know why we don't teach, and all of that. And in the end, I ended up to fly to Chicago, and I met her. We talked about it, and I met about 20 of those outstanding women and men who were already working in a way that probably I do now. And what I felt for the first time is that I'm not the outside and I'm not the odd one. I'm just normal because everybody else was there like me too. And that really helped me to just know that when I fly back to Switzerland, I'm going to fly back as who I truly am with everything I have. And I did. And I had to overcome the fears of many situations when I came back, talking about it. When they asked me what I did, I told them, yeah, I was I was there, I did this sensitivity training, I did this and that. And, I was open about it. And people looked at me, but nothing really bad happened. I mean, I'm sure some people thought I'm, lost it, but nothing bad happened. And that was the biggest relief when I was who I truly was and showed it. It wasn't the end of the world. Yeah.
I love that. So that's very interesting too, because um, I've talked before about sometimes the fears that we have are things that are never going to come true, and so we have to remember that it's very possible that if we take a leap that it's going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. In our head, the fears grow bigger and more vigorously. And probably in more detail. You know, we think about what could happen. And whenever we are in that state of fear, we add extra special horrible things to it. So when you probably start out with a little fear, you know, over the days, weeks, and months ahead, you can add details to that fear. You know, how horrible it's going to be, how much rejection you're going to have, or how much difficulties you're going to be experiencing. And as more as you go into that fear-based energy, the bigger this fear gets. And you let something, maybe just a thought that was unpleasant, grow into that big fear or balloon of fear. And then, you know, when you pop it, you see there is actually not much left there. It's just a lot of that fear based on your imagination, the negative imagination that you had.
Definitely. So you talked about, you know, when you were 5 years old, and I think you started to figure this out. And so surely, I'm sure that carried forward for you. How did you get past that? You know, that, I mean, while you were growing up and into, you know, how did you actually deal with that judgment? Like you mentioned, your parents were kind of concerned and that kind of thing. How did you get through all of that?
Well, basically, I ignored a part of myself. I didn't show it to the world. I did go into hiding. I think it's often with people who have similar stories like me. It's not even that they had a bad experience, but they sort of, when you grow up, you sort of realize that you're different, or other people don't have the same abilities, even though everybody could have the same abilities. Nothing, sixth sense is not just reserved for a few people. It's absolutely, it's just a training or an openness that you have or not have. And once you open that up, it's, you know, possible for everyone. But it's just, you realize that not everybody uses that sixth sense, is probably better wording. And for me, it was just not showing who I am. And that was so exhausting over the years, because every sentence that I was talking to, I had to go through. I mean, you know, you get sort of accustomed to that, but every sentence that was I saying to friends, to people, to at school, I would run through my head if that's something that I can say, or if that would sound odd.
Yeah.
Because having that sensitivity, and you know, when I was younger and didn't know that much about how to use it, I got through life very open, with that sense very open, and I got a whole lot of information. And you have to be very careful with what you say. You don't want to scare other people. That's what was my logic. So I didn't deal with it as a teenager. I definitely didn't deal with it as a child. And I sort of started to deal with it when it was so obvious that this is in my life, that I didn't feel good about myself anymore. So I had to look at it.
Yeah. So, you know, as a business strategist, you know I see so many different fears. You know, women have so many. There's just a laundry list of things, you know, they're terrified to do or scared of, and things like that. What suggestions do you have for those women who are struggling and fears holding them back or keeping them from doing the things that they need to do to move forward?
Well, there are a few things. I think the most important for me is that you be yourself in business, whatever you do. And I see that very often with my clients. Sometimes they start to, you know, there are so many ideas about strategies that you have to follow in your business. There are so many ideas about how other people sort of been very successful doing this and that. You have to find out who you truly are. What are your true talents? So it doesn't help if you know, let's say somebody's very good at marketing themselves on Facebook, and they've been very successful. Now they say you have to go live to Facebook Live, do that, do this, do that. And this is very successful. Now, if you are somebody who's a real connector, connecting to people, and you know, you're not very comfortable being on camera, you're not comfortable getting out there talking to nobody in particular, then this is going to be difficult for you to take off and work off like this is your medium. So it's not your thing, but you're very good at connecting with persons. So you could be profiting much more if clients refer to you to other people they know. There is not one shoe that fits all, and that's definitely not in business. And you hear all these stories about those strategies that you definitely have to follow, but if they're not resonating with yourself, I don't think they work. There are many very different ways to do. So I think to really be in tune with yourself, know what you're good at, find out, and this will be easy, finding out where you have your blockages, your patterns, your family patterns that you tap in, like things that come up again and again in your life, in your business, problems that you show with your partners in business, that show with your clients. Like if you have a problem with boundaries, say you would have pushy clients, and you think, why have I got the third or fourth pushy client this week? Well, what's wrong here? So this is a sign that you obviously have sort of one of the things that you have following you is something that you're not very clear about where your boundaries are. And other people that are in business doing the same thing probably have never a client who is pushy because they're so clear with their boundaries. It's never even a question. Mm-hmm. So those are things that you can detect yourself. Where are my weak points? Where do I get into similar situations again and again? And then you can look at that and find out, you know, where does that come from? Is that something that is just a weakness that I have to overcome? Is that something that actually my mother or my grandfather already had? And was that something I picked up, sort of soaked in with when I was a child? So there are different ways. That's one thing. Then being true to yourself and really know your way, how you best perform. And sometimes it is just taking that leap of faith and say, you know, there are fears here. I don't know about this, and I'm not sure about that. But what really is the worst thing that can happen? And take a step. I'm not saying financially, not go and risk big things and take big steps, but take little steps and take little risks and see how that works out. Taking that leap of faith and say, okay, might not work out, but I'm going to just try it and see what happens. Another great thing is using your feelings. Of course, this is a two-sided knife, a two-sided sword. I don't know if you say that in English too. It's once you have blockages and patterns that hold you back, this will hold you back from taking that faith, that step, that final step to overcome a fear. But in the other hand, your feelings will also tell you if you feel really comfortable with the situation or comfortable with the way you're going. And what I tell my clients often is if they're in a difficult situation, they just take a deep breath and then take your hand and put it on your heart and breathe very deeply and breathe out and just feel, you know, what is the truth behind that? What is the fear? Why does that come up? How do I feel about this situation and how can I solve that? And with also integrating the heart and not just the brain, sometimes the step to take that leap of faith can be easier.
Awesome. So I think it's interesting and also inspiring that you took your experience and you actually turned it into something that you love, that you do for a living. And I think that that is very encouraging for a lot of the ladies out there who maybe think that these things are holding them back, etc.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you have to say to women in that regard, as far as, you know, if they feel like they're held back by something like this?
Well, I think the most important thing is to find out what really fills your heart and soul. Because I really truly believe that we are not here just to do whatever, but that we are here to enjoy ourselves, to have fun, to live a life of happiness and the feeling of fulfillment, and at least feeling that our life and what we do means something to us, so we can identify with it. And if there is a fear behind that, then, you know, step by step, you have to look at that fear and take it out and find out what you can do about it. There's so many ways you can. Of course, the classical way would be go to a psychologist or psychiatrist and look at what your worst fear are. You can go to a kinesologist and find it out in a more holistic way. You know, you can go to all kinds of different things that help you overcome a fear. But sometimes it's just writing it down, feeling your way through it. And it's so obvious in most cases what really lights you up, what makes you happy. And whatever puts a smile on your face, that's something that you should be encouraged to do. And it shouldn't be, you know, it doesn't have to be dramatic, and definitely it doesn't have to be what other people do. Because, you know, when I came to the conclusion that I had to sort of combine the energy work with the economic work that I do or did for such a long time, and I really like that side too. I did form something that didn't really exist out there. And sometimes that's exactly what we have to do, just follow what we're good at and follow our passion. Because I truly believe that we are not going to find that satisfaction in life if we don't embrace what really makes us happy and puts a smile on our face and what's like lighting us up.
Yes, a million times that. Definitely. So yeah, that is awesome. So tell me, there are, I'm sure, people out there who want to know how to find you on social media and where they can find you online. Do you want to share that with the audience?
Yes, of course. Well, you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, which is the most intimate channel that I use because I'm sharing a lot of my life there. You can find me, of course, on my website, carollyne.corner.com. It's CAROLLYNE, corner.com. And I would love to share with you, if you go to my website, I have a free ebook. And if you'd love to know more about tools or sort of little meditations and things that can help you to just get that state, overcome those fears, you can go to Start Your Journey, and there's a free download, and it's really a lovely ebook that I've put a lot of thought and work into, just to share things that you can do with, you know, that doesn't really take a lot of space or time in your life, but improve it. And I've seen it many times with your clients. Just doing something in the morning, like you know, put your vibration up, put yourself in a good mood, lift yourself up. A 5-minute just thinking of beautiful things right now, appreciation. That can really change the whole day, instead of, you know, getting up and on, you know, what's going to get next, and oh, this will be stressful. You're already in a bad mood and already in lower vibrations if you do that. So if you have something that lifts you up in the morning, that just keeps you going till lunchtime. So there are a lot of little tools and little sort of secrets that I share in there, and it's something that can pick you up right away.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing and offering that.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for being on the show. You guys don't realize this as listeners, but it's midnight where she's at. And she's more awake than I am, and it's 4 here. So thank you so much for staying up late and being on with me. And to the audience, I adore you and love you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful.
Thank you for listening today. I hope that you found some inspiration from today's episode. If you would like to find me and check me out, you can head over to SuzanneProksa.com, or if you are a female entrepreneur who is purpose-driven, head over to my Facebook group at fempreneurs.biz. Thank you so much for listening today, and I will see you in the next episode.